What's going on, everyone? Last night's game against the Sacramento Kings, the Lakers not only embarrassed themselves and got just completely demolished and destroyed, but Russell Westbrook also got injured, and it is a hamstring injury. And one of the big things I saw is like, oh, does his trade value go down? Does this affect his trade? Things along the trades, right? Reports came in from Woj that the Lakers are going to start actively pursuing trades as soon as the season begins. Preseason, teams want to see what they got. They want to see what they need. They want to see what directions they want to go. Things along those lines. And of course, then trades start being discussed throughout the regular season, leading to the trade deadline, of course. Now, the Lakers are going to be active, and if a right deal does come to the table, then I do believe they will take the deal. I think that they have their concerns as much as everyone else does, but they're not in a rush. And I do think that they believe to some degree that Russ can fit in one way or another, whether it's him coming off the bench, whether it's him starting. And as much as I would have loved to see Russ come off the bench last night and actually play significant minutes and kind of see if that works out, his injury really did hurt, and it sucks. But as far as his trade value goes, it's not going to affect his trade value at all. Like, Russell Westbrook, knock on wood, could literally break his leg and be out the entire season, and it's still not going to affect his trade value because none of the teams that are trying to trade for Russell Westbrook are trading for Russell Westbrook. They're trading for his salary to, move off of assets or clear roster spots or, just get rid of long-term salary or, recoup assets, whatever the incentive is for the team that wants Russ. That is what it is. It's not because of Russell Westbrook. Pretty much none of the teams that are willing to trade for Russ actually wanted to play Russ. And even as the season goes on, he's only going to get more valuable because the longer the season goes on, that's less money that a team has to pay in order to buy him out and still recoup assets and things like that. Then you add in the Victor Wembanyama situation, right? All these teams are just tanking for the bottom to try to go get him and Scoot Henderson. And this just draft in general is very deep. So you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to, after the season or after this preseason, they're going to start evaluating, going like, what direction do we want to go? Are we bad enough if we move off of, say, like these three guys to end up having the best odds to get Victor or even Scoot? Yes or no? And if they believe that they do, then I think you're going to start seeing a lot of trades start coming on. I think it'll be about a month or so before it really starts ramping up. But I wouldn't be surprised in come like December time, we start seeing some trades. And it's not even just the Lakers. I think a lot of teams are really going to be able to get some like solid deals, get some like real gems, really upgrade their rosters and stuff. And not just that, but get some fleece level deals, just because you're going to have teams that purposely want to get fleeced to move off as many, winnable players as possible. So that way they could be as bad as possible to get Victor and be in that position. Now, I think also, as you get close to trade deadline, there's teams that, are projected to do good, but they do terrible. So it's like, let's just blow it up and start over. A team, like example, would be like the Chicago Bulls, right? The Chicago Bulls are like not very good, and they're like, a play-in team. Are they like, do we really want to pay all this money? We got Lonzo out, all this stuff. Let's go just move off of some of these guys, trade DeRozan, get some assets, start over. That is another option that could end up happening. And then always the who's going to be the next big name to want out. And it might not even be like some superstar or anything like that. But, even like a Bradley Beal or a Damian Lillard. Let's say Portland wants to tank and they're just like, hey, we need a restart. Chicago has their pick, but it's top 14 protected. So if they got, say the number one pick, then they would be able to keep that pick and they're good, right? And kind of restart with Victor. And again, I'm not saying that any of those guys would go to Lakers or get traded to Lakers or things like that. I'm just using teams as an example to look out for that, if Portland isn't very good and they're towards the bottom of the standings, they might look at it as like, hey, let's pull the trigger. Like, Dame, where do you want to go? And there could be options in that department. But nonetheless, again, Russell Westbrook is desirable for the contract because there's no other contract like his in the league. a player that is like a complete board wipe, a complete clean slate for some of these teams. A lot of these teams, like the Hornets, for example, is a team we're starting to see kind of pop up in Laker trade talks again, just because, you have LaMelo Ball who went down, and because of LaMelo Ball going down, they're already terrible with him. Now, imagine how they're going to be without him, and they don't really have a true starting point guard now. So, they're a team that if they wanted to, they could play Russ, or they could just fully embrace the tank and just unload all their guys. Problem is, a lot of these guys have long-term salaries. They don't want to give up assets to get these guys. And, some of these guys are not going to be great fits for other teams. A lot of teams have their guard play or their wing play, things like that. But the Lakers, they could use some sizable wings. Like, they could use, Kelly Oubre or, Gordon Hayward if he could stay healthy, stuff like that. So you have these several guys on a roster like that you could end up working a deal out. It's a perfect situation for them because they're like, hey, we're just going to embrace the tank. Let's unload these guys. Maybe the Lakers could even, come away with like a PJ Washington. Hornets have been wanting to trade PJ Washington for some time. He's been in a lot of trade rumors. Maybe they look at it as like he's a player that could equate to some wins. Let's get rid of him. Could be a real possibility, especially if he's a guy you don't really see for your future. Lakers very likely don't have to give up everything that they own. They may even be able to do it without any picks, because at that point you're doing the Hornets a huge service, right? You're essentially giving them the best odds to be in the position to get a Henderson or a Victor, ideally Victor. But even if they ended up with, like, say, Henderson, like, Scoot Henderson, like, LaMelo Ball and Scoot Henderson would be a great position to be in, right? He is still a stud in and of himself. So it's a great spot for them to be in. They're also moving off of a ton of long-term salary. I mean, you could even make the argument the Hornets should give up something in that regard, just with everything that's going on. But nonetheless, I do think it would be a rather beneficial trade. But as time goes on, again, Russ is going to only gain value. And that's something we got to keep in mind, because so many people, have this idea of like, why would this team want Russ? Like, why would this team, you got to give up this for Russ? It's a first round pick for Russ. That's not the case at all, because one, again, there's value for Russ for these other teams. If there wasn't, these teams wouldn't be trying to get Russell Westbrook. They wouldn't be trying to trade for his salary. They're doing it because there's value in trading for him. That be the draft picks or just clearing salary or whatever it is. But now, that all these teams want to tank for Victor. Now you're in a position to where it's like, okay, well, how badly do you want Victor? It just adds a layer of just some leverage. I don't think it's leverage to a point where like teams are going to be like, okay, well, we'll just give you whatever you want and it's free, But I do think that teams will be willing to sort of come down heavily on asking price. Even the Indiana Pacers, as much as like they want 2 firsts for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, they're better off just like saying, hey, give us a first and we'll give you these 2 guys and then just tank. Waive Russell Westbrook, go take a chance to go get Victor or even Scoot. And if you end up with one of those, you still have Halliburton and everyone else on your roster. You have such a good young core that you could build for the future. You're going to be bad anyway with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. And it's like, why not just embrace it? And I do think that sooner or later, they're going to embrace it. And they're going to want to get something back from Miles Turner. But Russ, it doesn't matter how Russ plays. Russ could be the best player in the league this year, win MVP again, and just be an incredible talent. And come the trade deadline, teams still won't want him as a player. They want his salary. Now, I do think there are teams out there that would love to have Russell Westbrook, but not at a $47 million salary. That is what the big issue is. Now, if he was like $10 million, I think you'd see a ton of teams lining up to get him, especially if he's willing to come off the bench. I think a lot of teams would do that. I don't think there's a team in the league that wouldn't want Russell Westbrook to come off the bench. Like, why not? You got a guy that could give you 30 a night that's coming off the bench, give you a 30-point triple-double a night coming off the bench. I think that, regardless, how Russ could be the worst fit in the world. He could be absolutely terrible, or he could be great. I don't think his value is going to fluctuate or change regardless. Teams are always going to try to fleece the Lakers. Teams are always going to perceive the Lakers as desperate because they have Russ and they know that they don't really want Russ. So, I mean, that's not going to go away regardless. But what will get better is his value. As time goes on, his value is going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to just be a fixture in trade discussions and talks, especially around the trade deadline if the Lakers haven't already pulled a deal. But I do think, say 10 games into the season, if the Lakers are like 2-8, I do think the Lakers probably panic and just get a deal done. I really do. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Do you think this injury affects Russ and his trade value in any way? Do you think that no, like I agree with you, his trade value is only going to go up because the longer it gets into the season, the less money teams have to pay, and therefore there's value. However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section.